Hey, everybody doing out there today? It's your boy DK, man. Coming at you live in effect on this glorious Wednesday, middle of the week. Getting ready to trap it out. It's a beautiful day, as you can see in the background, man. Sun shining, birds chirping. So we definitely gonna take that in as a top-notch blessing for sure. Y'all already know. Trying to get into these markets. We got about 9 minutes before the stock market bell gets to ringing. You already know early bird catches the worm, yo, for sure. Let me share my screen right quick so we can get into what's going on out here. See if we can get into us some nice little moves right quick. Get in. Been forecasting Google, man, a couple pairs I've been looking at all week, hoping that we're gonna get some type of opportunity to get into these markets at a good price. We already been chasing it. I ain't gonna say chasing it, but we already been eating off of it. But sometimes you gotta let that let it go for a bigger play. And we definitely looking for the pullback so we can get into the next move on the top side. So definitely, man, you on the screen, like, share, subscribe, all that, man, for sure, for sure. I'm just not figuring out. I didn't even know I could live stream on Facebook, not Facebook, but on YouTube. I thought you had to have like 50 subscribers. Let me find out though. I would have been streaming for sure, for sure. Yo, what's good, man? Got about 5 minutes before we get this thing, before the stock market get ready to open. Sentiment probably most likely just like what I was talking about yesterday. We got more news that just came out this morning. Let the CPI results come out, and it wasn't what it wasn't what they forecasted, which is in a sense good thing for us as a consumer. As I was talking about yesterday with these interest rates that's going to possibly we could see a cut in these interest rates in the future, which plays a major role, like I say, in what we're actually paying for right now. Um, a lot of the things that's has the price that has increased so much. It ain't just in. I mean, it is inflation, but a lot of that has to do with the interest rate as well that the Fed has set on a federal level. That's basically like trickle down economics, and it eventually get to where it's meant to get, and the effects of it is affecting us, the consumer, with our purchasing power, what we can get, what we can't get at a certain price, based off like what that asset was last year or even a few months ago. So this data that just came out, like I say, is pertinent for sure. Just waiting on the stock market. It'll open up in about 3 minutes, man. And then we just gonna react. Can't beat them. Gotta join them. You know, no sense in trying to be too proactive, especially when you got news that just came out today, this morning, about an hour ago. So we would rather be reactive than trying to assume that we think we know where the market gonna go, and we don't. We really don't know. We small fry in this pond for sure. But definitely looking forward to some moves once the market settle in. They pricing in what's going on. With this data that just came out this morning, we can pretty well see a nice move to the upside from the future side. Crypto is already going crazy. You got Bitcoin possibly about to make a new all-time high. Yeah, like I say, as Bitcoin go, all the other cryptos go as well. So if you investing into crypto, you got some crypto, whatever it may be, hold on to it. If anything, add stack more positions with it, because as Bitcoin go, everything else go. As Bitcoin fall, everything else fall as well. But right now, we definitely we're in a bullish trend right now with Bitcoin, man. I don't see it, kind of slowing down right now, especially with that. We got all this going on overseas. We got all the wars and all that's going on. We don't know nothing about safe havens. Then Bitcoin has slowly became a safe haven outside of the U.S. dollar, even though it's real volatile, super volatile. But it's if you factor in this growth since it's been, you know, born, I would say, I mean, you can't deny the facts of the percentage that it has gained since it's been actually being used. So people flock to where they can keep their money safe, where they can hedge their money and not lose a lot of money when you're starting to see the volatility in the markets. But yeah, that's neither here nor there right now. We getting ready to open up right now. See what they talking about. it is right there. All right, so it's real now. We just got this opening bell, so we're trying to see how the market will react. Never want to chase the market first. First thing, yeah, if you was with me yesterday when I was going live on Facebook, I was talking about Google and basically trying to waiting on Google to break this certain threshold right here for sure. And with the data that just came out this morning, basically kind of in a sense pointing to the economy kind of slowing down, which in turns might give us the Fed might it gives us optimistic makes us optimistic about if the Fed is going to cut interest rate at the next meeting or whatever. So them cutting the interest rate is really what we need, not just from a market perspective, but as a consumer perspective for real. So rent prices will start to go down, the housing market will start to cool off, so prices will come down, or gas. I mean, just about anything that we use on an essential basis will start to kind of come back down to. We'll never probably get back to pre-COVID levels at all, but we can kind of sort of trend back towards that what it was before COVID. We'll never get back down there, but as long as we got high Fed interest rate, it's only going to trickle down to our everyday lives. Just make everything more expensive for us, give us less purchasing power. So that data coming out this morning, the consumer CPI, which basically lets us know as a consumer if we paying more for the same product or are we paying less. And with the numbers falling less than what's forecasted, it's basically saying we're paying less than what we would be paying a year ago or a month ago. The two price the two data that came out, one was month to month and one was year to year. They both was down. So that's good for us. And I was talking about Delta yesterday as well, as far as us having more discretionary income. That discretionary income leads to us spending more money, like vacations and doing things that we normally wouldn't do if we was worried about how the economy was going to be in the next 3 months, 6 months. You will be a little bit more conservative with your money. Not that you're not, but we're just talking about it as a whole, as a majority of where you want to be, on what side of the market you want to be on when you get this type of data coming out. So I was talking about Delta getting above this level right here. And once we Delta break above this $53 level, I'm gonna say in a sense we get around here, top of 53, we get a hard close, depending on how aggressive it pierces this resistance level out here. We get a hard close above 53, man. I'm risk on with Delta. Like I say, this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. But I feel like Delta would be a good, strong buy, especially going into the rest of the summer, leading into the end of the year. As long as they don't have no more mishaps, like any type of wrecks or anything like that, I can definitely see Delta continuing its upside. especially as we get closer to earnings, which is in July. We end up getting a good earnings report. Everything's positive on it. We definitely flying for sure. Trying to get to that $62, $63 mark that some of these economists have been predicting. Not as they always right, of course not. But after you do your own due diligence and you do your own markup and things like that, I kind of in a sense side with them because I feel like we're going to see the upside just based on what we're seeing with the visuals and the data that's coming out. Because at the end of the day, that's what's really driving these markets is hardcore data, concrete facts. What's in black and white, what they reporting as far as earnings, unemployment, all these things right here. Talked about Starbucks yesterday too. You can see this strong open, basically done trade that I had marked up for last week. It's basically done here TP. We caught the entry like right down here, man. That's crazy. Tight little stop, nowhere near, but at the entry around like 87 up to here around 90, 93, $94, man. That's a solid trade. We're talking 800% right there. If you catch that at the entry, you hold it all the way to the TP. 700% in the stock market is nuts, nuts. I don't care how you shape it, form it. That's a trade right there that have you in profit for the whole month. You meaning too much got to trade no more. For real, for real. So we starting out the morning, like I say, we starting out good based off this data that just came out. And I don't know if you can see it. I keep switching over to the tab, but I don't think it's showing up like on the actual screen where you can see uh where you can see the actual data that came out. But yeah, so I'm actually for to be looking for some interest on Delta right now. I think we get out of this. I think we get out of this resistance. If not today, definitely by the end of the week. I can see us getting up out of here for sure. Um, Google, I'm looking for an entry on Google as well because as I was talking about yesterday, I don't see nothing stopping Google from getting to that 185 area, which is going. I feel like it's gonna be its next target up in here. Back in February, this high here. As far as liquidity, it would make sense if they come and sweep this liquidity up here. Now, can we see a pullback? Yes, of course, but see real strong right now. Sometimes you don't get that pullback until certain goals has been reached for them. Of course, as a trader, as an investor, we would love to see pull back into this area to 50, 60%. We don't want to see it get back down here where it left from now. At that point, we might be breaking structure and going somewhere else. But we could pull back somewhere up here where it used to be resistant, especially where this 200 EMA line right here coming across. We get a pullback to about right up in here, 175. Man, that'll be a awesome entry for us to take it back up to the top side. It'll be worth the risk, even if it didn't hit. For me, it'll be worth the risk. I like Google. They catching on with the AI at first. I don't think that they. I ain't gonna say I ain't gonna think, but I don't think they was like consoling their investors onto if they was gonna really get into the AI market, like talking about. Well, with them now ramping up they research and development for AI, they don't do nothing but put them back at the top where they've been being. So um yeah, right now I'm just kind of letting the market. The first 30 minutes of the stock market is always volatile. It's a lot of there's a lot of back and forth going on, a lot of tug of war. So you kind of want to be patient. You don't want to get caught up in that first little volatility because it could look like it's going to go one situation, but one way because it comes out so strong that volume will be so strong, man. 30 minutes later, an hour later, the market, I'm talking about tank on you, literally flip and go the opposite direction. So you gotta be real careful with the opening of the stock market, which is really why I'm not a scalper. I don't really like scalping. Scalping, they move too fast for me. To me, it's almost like it's gambling, like for real, for real. All this shit is a gamble, but it's less of a gamble with a more calculated risk, and or you doing it with an expectation to see a return later on down the road. It takes the gambling risk out of it versus you scapping and you trying to get in the market and make your return in 5-10 minutes. That ain't for me. Like, I'm not a scalper. I'm a swing trader. I like to let my vision play out. Sometimes it take a week, 2 weeks, but that's fine as long as it's going to the targeted areas. No matter if it take a month. Uh, uh, a return on investment, a positive return on investment is always the goal. So it don't even much matter how long that it actually takes. It's as long as your vision is correct. So yeah, we definitely should be looking for an entry right here on live on Delta. I got a feeling we're going to see Delta get up out of here, out of this little resistance area for sure. Um, and get to this top side, man. Let's say, let's see it get back up here. It's around 55. Last little down close counter before we seen the drop during that little time when they had the wreck. We got up here a few weeks ago, pierced it, but boom, see the drop. We had a lot of news that was pretty ready to come out. Felt like that's why we seen the drop. We post news now, even more so post news with what just came out this morning. We got inflation data coming out a little later with the CPI being less than was forecast. It kind of can indicate that the inflation numbers are going to be down, and that's a good thing for us as a consumer and as an investor. Like I say, people don't like a lot of uncertainty in these markets. Is everything a guarantee? Of course not, but you can get to a point where you can kind of take the uncertainty out of it and get a clear or picture of where you think um, your returns are going to come from. How long it's going to take, where would be a good entry and exit position on whatever the asset that you're trading. But yeah, right now, man, definitely look for an entry into Delta options or call options. Not sure if you're trading or whatever. Um, but that's currently what I'm looking at. Starbucks would have been a nice one, but she heavily bullish. But we don't want to chase the market at all. Kind of just sitting back and being patient with it. Let it flow how it's gonna flow. Google as well. Like I say, the first 30 minutes of the stock market can be confusing for sure. It can be super confusing, man. That's Microsoft played out. Oh, nice, nice. That's the so, yeah, I don't know if y'all can hear it, man. Got Bloomberg on. I'm trying to let y'all listen to what they saying on Bloomberg, but it's not switching over for me. I'm not sure if y'all can hear that volume or what, but I know when I click back over to the little live joint, all I see is the chart. Um, yeah, I was trying to make sure y'all could hear what they talking about on Bloomberg, but I don't think it's allowing me to switch it over. So I just have to play it out what I'm saying. So yeah, like I said, the opening, man, the first 30 minutes, you don't want to chase the market. You want to kind of let it just play out. You see a lot of scapping going on first half of the market can lead to a reversal. They will fake you out. It might look good. Got a lot of high volume coming in. A lot of new trades being placed. You got people taking profit. You got people selling. And the ones who really control the market with millions, uh, billions. One different aspect of them changing how they going to buy or sell a certain asset will literally drop the market within seconds. And especially Trump ass, because he might come out and say some old goofy ass shit within the next 30 minutes. He might tweak some shit. You just never know. Kind of like want to let the market play out. Um, After the first 30 minutes, me personally, I said like an hour. You really want to wait till the 10 o'clock candle, depending on where you at, being whether you in a Central Time or you in Pacific Time, just depending on what time frame you at. For us, for me, being in the South, it's going to be 10 a.m. So it's like an hour and a half after the stock market is actually open. 8:30 for us. But like I say, I'm looking for an entry on Delta. Would be nice, man. And we can see it get, like I say, we can break out of this resistance right here. I ain't gonna lie, it look kind of decent on this little daily time frame, but it's still underneath where I want to see it be for me to have that confidence that it's going to continue to get up here to this upside. So definitely want to be patient. I would love to get on a trade live so you can see how it'll play out on the live, but I'm not gonna force anything, to try to give y'all a visual of what's really going on. But definitely looking into Delta and Google. I like Google as well. Really trying and hoping that we get a pullback on Delta. We can get a pullback on Delta, man. I mean, not Delta, Google. We get a pullback on Google. At least it's about 175. I feel confident in taking the Google trade, but right now it's so bully. You don't really want to chase the market. Kind of want to wait till it give you that discounted price. So we can't catch the discounted price down. We just let it fly. It is what it is. There's gonna be plenty of other opportunities later on in the market as it settled down. But definitely what I'm keeping my eyes on right now, Google, Delta, and what they talking about on Bloomberg. Like I said, you got a lot of news coming in and out. I wish I could flip it over so y'all can see it or hear it, but it's not doing it for me. So I don't know why it's doing it. If I need to unshare my screen and then reshare it, I mean for sure. But basically what I'm doing right now, man, kind of seeing what they talking about on Bloomberg, especially with Elon Musk and Trump, they beefing, which is causing a lot of volatility in the market as well. And like I say, opportunities. So yeah, that's where we at right now, man. That's where we at. That's where we at. Just being patient, letting the market play out, looking for some opportunities. Hopefully, we can take advantage of today going to the end of the week. The stock market closes, crypto market stays open 24/7. So it's never no days off with the crypto market, but with the stock market, it closes on every Friday. No weekends, none of that. You can hold your trade, you can hold your position over the weekend, but nonetheless, you're not gonna be able to participate in no trades or anything like that. So that's where we at, man. That's where we at. I'm still gonna search around for a few opportunities, different opportunities, or some analysis that I feel like you know you can take advantage of if you're looking to invest. I know you don't know too much about trading, but like I was explaining yesterday on my live, investing is a lot simpler. You do it indirectly if you got an employer. If you're an employee, then you participate. Probably more than likely, you participate in your 401k contribution. So you already have a half a step ahead. You just don't, you're just not aware of your power in the sense of being able to take control of your own investment on your own doing it for yourself and not relying on nobody else. So you can, maximize your winnings, maximize your return on investments, and be able to spread that knowledge, help somebody else out, things of that nature. So if we're gonna scan this market, man, like I say, I've been preaching Delta. I'm also preaching Google and Bitcoin. You might not necessarily directly invest into Bitcoin, but there are other cryptos that, there's crazy amount of opportunity in a lot of these cryptos that will 4 times, 5 times, what we call 4-5x, which means you will multiply your investment 4-5 times. And that's what you really want to look for when it comes to cryptos, because it's so volatile. Stocks, you're gonna see more of a conservative rate of return, right? 10%, 12%, 15%. When we're talking about investing now when you're trading options, that the percentages can get a whole lot higher, especially in a shorter time frame, a week, a month, or the day. You can do on the day trades as well. Like I say, so for me right now, we just being patient, and I'm just on the screen, just rocking out with y'all, bro. We just chilling, trading, trying to make some ends. This ain't your cup of tea, I get it, but yeah, basically this is what it is. So I wish I could share the screen for Bloomberg, man, because this is where I get a lot of my news at. They talk about a lot of current news and things of that nature. So man, I wish I could, and I don't want to just sit here and talk your head off, but I don't know how to get it to. Get it to share for real. I don't. So yeah, that's pretty much what we get, man. Like I say, we got that data earlier this morning, CPI. Yeah, there we go, right there. So let me see if we can do this. Bet. So yeah, this is what we're on right now, man.
Very traditional.
Bloomberg.
A lot of
See what they talking about.
things of the past.
Why they talking about what they talking about? Keep scanning the market now. They on a good entry point. Why I feel like we're real good entry point. Exercise our plan. Try to get prepared. You got questions. Got something you want to ask? Drop it in the chat, man. Drop it in the chat. I'll do my best to answer it.
And man and woman.
Bloomberg is my go-to, man. I don't feel like it's a super bias.
Everyone should be happy if
platform. They just basically focus on money,
something to
what's
eat,
going on globally.
So
They ain't too much trying to appease the Democratic Party or appease the Republican Party. They don't really study all that. They more so about the facts, stats, the underlying issue, what's going on. And it's a pace of another there's a whole lot of opinion-based. Anything that goes at news sources, I feel like you gotta pay a bunch of subscription for. It's higher. Anything you watch on TV, Netflix, it's like $35, $40 a month. They let you know, what they talking about is paramount. They ain't talking about no
making money isn't about drowning in emotions. It's about understanding what's actually happening. Markets are the best way to glean signal from noise, and that is what we try to do every morning. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
You want to do some research yourself.
It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. We'll show you what's happening in ETFs like no one else. ETF IQ, Mondays on Bloomberg.
It's a no. I ain't watching. That's crazy.
We are 30 minutes into the trading day and looking at some slight gains, right?
Slight, yeah.
6,044. We're 100 points away from the closing record.
Yeah, so we are close to a record high, but I still find it curious that, okay, we got positive trade vibes from the president this morning, the president of the United States. We got good news when it comes to CPI, and still, that's only good for 0.1% gain on the S&P 500. So this market seems to want a little bit more, Matt.
Where are my glasses?
Good question.
I'm looking at headlines here, but I can't read them because I don't have my glasses. No, I'm looking at Scott Bessent saying inflation shows substantial improvement due to Trump. We saw that in the CPI numbers, that rebalancing with China possible if China basically upholds its end of the deal. He credits, by the way, Trump's policies for the slowdown in price hikes. This guy gives his boss a lot of credit. He's always very careful to thank President Trump, to give President Trump all the credit, to tell President Trump how smart he is.
Well, what did Paul Tudor Jones say to us an hour ago?
Got to manage up.
That's true, and that President Trump values loyalty above all else.
Yeah, so we're going to bring you this testimony, obviously, when it happens. I should mention that I'm Matt Miller.
Oh, right. I'm Katie Greifeld.
It's an important part of the program. Joining us now from Capitol Hill on Bloomberg's Open Interest is our Washington correspondent, Tyler Kendall. So, Tyler, we get the gist of Scott Bessent's statement there. President Trump has done so many great things for this country already, chief among them bringing down inflation. What else do we expect him to say on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, hey, Matt. So Secretary Bessent is here in front of the House Ways and Means Committee. This was supposed to be a routine pre-scheduled hearing about the Treasury Department's budget request, except for that there is nothing routine about what is happening today. One, of course, as you had already mentioned, the White House really welcoming that CPI report with Scott Bessent giving President Trump credit there. But we're also expecting potentially for him to get some questions when it comes to filling in the gaps on what we need to know on the China trade deal. Now, President Trump, of course, said that it is a done deal subject to his final approval, as well as Chinese President Xi Jinping. But we're still waiting to fill in some of those details when it comes to whether or not China really is going to speed up those export licenses related to critical and rare earth minerals, and what sort of export controls the U.S. is willing to lift or loosen in exchange. Now, our reporting does indicate that Bessent will say rebalancing with China is possible if it upholds its end of the deal. The other thing I would quickly point you towards is that the House Ways and Means Committee, the chairman is Jason Smith. He's the lead tax writer for the House, so no doubt reconciliation is also going to come up in these conversations, because the White House really does want to get that package done as soon as possible. While it had that news on the CPI and inflation and its tariffs, the second part of this is that they want to speed up that tax policy bill as soon as possible to get more cash into consumers' pockets quickly with that front loading of those tax cuts.
All right, Tyler, thanks very much. Tyler Kendall there on Capitol Hill. And, of course, we'll bring you Treasury Secretary Bessent as soon as he starts to speak. Earlier in the last hour, we spoke with the billionaire investor Paul Tudor Jones about how he's investing for the long term.
The easiest long-term trades are, you know, the yield curve's going to steepen, probably to historic wides. You know we're going to cut short-term rates dramatically in the next year. And you know the dollar will probably be lower because of that.
And joining us now, I'm pleased to say, we have Mona Mahajan. She is principal and head of investment strategy over at Edward Jones. Great to see you in person.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about this market that we're dealing with, because I made the point just a couple minutes ago. We got positive news on trade. We got positive news when it comes to CPI. Not much of a reaction when it comes to these markets.
Yeah, it is interesting. Look, I think both of those headlines are positive for the economic backdrop. We want to see inflation contained. That's what we're getting. And keep in mind, services inflation is what surprised nicely to the downside this morning, which is good to see as well. 2/3 of the CPI basket. On the trade front, we've already started to hear the walking back of those, Liberation Day tariffs. And so I think markets had started to price in trade deals coming. Now, we got a nice framework for China potentially. We even heard from the Euro area that there is a potential for a framework on July 9th or ahead of July 9th. And so I do think we'll continue to hear these frameworks in place, details being worked out in the months ahead. Keep in mind, this is an environment where markets have already rallied about 20% in the S&P 500. We moved up pretty far, pretty fast, perhaps pricing in some of this good news. So perhaps some digestion period is normal, but we do think the backdrop is better today, and the economic outlook as we head towards the back half of the year is improving.
I wonder how optimistic you can be about 10% tariffs pretty much globally. 55% on China, right? Which is like they give us all their cheap goods and then they invest in our economy. It doesn't seem like a fantastic situation from a free market capitalist point of view.
Yeah, you know, it's a great call out. Look, we were at 2% average tariffs in the U.S. beginning of the year. We're probably going to that 10% plus level higher in China. What I will say is broadly, analysis has shown that a 10% level is still a threshold that can be managed and absorbed. Once you get beyond that, that's where you do see movements in prices. To your point, China is now at 55%. That is a meaningful rise with Chinese trading partners. We do think that'll flow into, over time, prices moving higher and potentially economic growth softening. Now, all that being said, we don't yet see a recession as a base case in the U.S. Potential for a softening or a cooling from the 2.5% level, absolutely. But nonetheless, aside from the trading deal, we're also looking at a tax bill on the horizon and, you know, corporations getting more clarity, which should help the earnings picture as well. We look into 2026, lower Fed rates, tax bill done, and maybe a reacceleration in earnings. So that's the backdrop we're looking at.
Well, let's talk about earnings a little bit more, because we were having the conversation yesterday that, okay, earnings this past earnings season wasn't as bad as expected. And now you're seeing estimates move higher and higher at the index level. If you break it down sector by sector, though, it feels like a lot of that strength is coming from big tech. Are we just going back to that playbook?
Yeah, you know, look, I think part of the story in the recovery in the markets was that big tech reaffirmed their commitment to investing in AI, investing in CapEx. That was actually a positive to hear. There was some uncertainty going into the quarter whether or not we'd still get those huge CapEx numbers, and we did. So a positive there, and that certainly drove the story in earnings, and it drove the market as well. We continue to see this AI story as a long-term secular bull theme that we need to have exposure to. So we do think growth and value parts of the market make sense in a portfolio. We continue to see that diversification trade, though, working. Will we see the outsized returns in Mag 7 that we saw over the last 2 years? Probably not to that extent. But nonetheless, we continue to see, and keep in mind, it's not only tech that'll benefit over time. We should start to see this show up in productivity gains and healthcare, financial services, industrial. So all of that we think is coming as well.
It's interesting that we had a pretty good labor number, right? Revisions maybe weren't fantastic, but we're looking for another 100,000 and change jobs to come in the next month. Then the consensus starts to drop to about half of that, 65,000, in the following couple of months. Are you worried about labor? Because for the last 2 years, everybody has been waiting for labor.
So I'm waiting on the next 20 minutes for this counter to close, man. If we can get a close on Google above this 180, all this little inflection right here, we can get a close above here, man. I'm gonna look for me an entry on the call option. It's about 185. Probably set my my expiration date around next week. So I feel like this is gonna be the next target right here. Up here to the 185 area, you can see the liquidity kind of, in a sense, sitting up there. Basically, these markets are basically looking for liquidity. You know, that's how these markets operate. Without liquidity, there's no such thing as the stock market. Always losers and buyers or whatever. So I feel like this is going to be the next target on Google for sure. It's just not, I don't want to rush into it. Like I say, you want to be patient the first couple of hours or so when the stock market first open, because you get a lot of confusion. You get a lot of confusing rhetoric. It might look like it's going to go one way, and it could come out looking strong, like it's going to be bullish or whatever. Man, an hour into the market, some crazy stuff will come out, and it'll literally go the opposite way on you. So I'm just trying to be as patient as possible, make sure what I'm seeing is accurate, at least to my best ability, because we want to see it get above yesterday's high for sure. We get above yesterday's high with the data that just came out this morning. I feel like we'll be in a good position to take it on up to this next level, which is 185. And I know you probably like $180 to $185. They're like on a $5 exchange rate, right? But going from $1 to the next $1 in the stock market is way more than $1. I'm putting it that way. Depending on what you're leveraging, how many contracts you buy, or a price going from $1 to another is worth way more than $1. I can tell you that it don't seem as as low as it might sound the way when I'm talking about a $5 move in the stock market is. That's a substantial move. That ain't nothing light, nothing to play with. It's really there's a lot of gains being made within just $1 price movement, for real. But right now, man, things kind of choppy. Like I said, we got news that just came out, so I don't want to sit on here too long and hoping things going to change and go the way that I want it to go. The market pretty much moves how I want to move. So that's just my little spiel this morning, man. What I'm looking for, definitely looking for a move on Google and looking for an entry on Delta. We already done lost the Starbucks entry, is already gone. And that's one thing we don't do is chase the market. So we just let it go and do what it's going to do. Maybe we might get a pullback, but we're not going to sit here and just beg for one in a sense. Which is, like I say, we're pretty much reacting to the market versus being proactive and trying to dictate where we think the market's gonna go versus where the market want to go. So we're just being reactive right now. First hour, let's say after about 10 o'clock, it's just 9 now. So around about 10 is when I'm gonna really be looking seriously into making an entry. So that's pretty much my little spiel for the morning. For y'all that jumped on with your boy, I appreciate it. And I'll touch base tomorrow, man, to let you know if I got into one of these trades and how it's going and what you can do to take advantage. Like I say, look into Delta, look into any type of stocks anything that you spend money on in a loyalty way, like you constantly shopping with this certain brand. Look into who owns that company. Look into what company is publicly trading that particular product that you like to buy. If they making money off of you, why not make some of your money back? That's just my mindset with it. So definitely appreciate y'all for jumping on. But I'm going to hop off, man, get a market about a good 30, 45 minutes because I don't want to sit on here like other streamers and just be bored. I ain't going to say bored, but just, sitting around, whatever. So we'll come back. I might go live again around about 10 just to see if the price is really going to move the way I want it to. Other than that, man, I appreciate y'all for jumping on for sure.